This shit is worse than the white savior theme, and we've done that. We've done Lawrence of Arabia. We've done Dances with Wolves. We've done Dune. We've done Avatar. At least we've talked about them in context of the white savior theme, and we'll continue to critique that. But tonight we have something more insidious. 100 years ago, 99 years ago, a silent film was made about 2026. Metaphorically, it's spot on. And we see aspects of the message, its message cracking, but people are still, they're still falling for it. One, that we need someone to come and save us. And two, that it has to be someone of wealth, of power, or of some kind of position. Basically, a benevolent billionaire who's going to come and save us from the evil billionaires. We need a good billionaire to come save us, like Iron Man. Then the different halves of society would stop hating each other. Then we can bridge these gaps into a new tomorrow. So I, for one, say don't fall for the Metropolis myth. The Metropolis myth of 1927. The Fritz Lang film. Let's talk about it. Let's go underground. Metropolis 1927, about 2026. RickRamos, go ahead.
It's impossible to talk about Fritz Lang's masterpiece without recognizing its importance in cinema. And I call it a masterpiece because culturally, artistically, narratively, thematically, it's something that was new in 1927. But I look at the importance of this film in the same way, or at least similarly to Griffith's The Birth of a Nation, where technically you're seeing technical brilliance on the screen that cannot be overlooked if you know movies, in service, not to the degree of Griffith at least, but in service to a story that is very basic, very obvious, and simplistic. I agree that this is, I agree with my esteemed colleague here, Mr. Chavez, in saying that this is a white savior fantasy. You didn't say fantasy. I'm
It's
adding
a rich savior fantasy.
A rich white savior, because this is a white savior saving white people. But it is the benevolence. It is the billionaire recognizing his brotherhood with the dregs of society, and going to them in order to save them from the evils of his father. You're more of a religious studies major than I've ever been, but I do see parallels here. This is a Christ figure in to some degree. The Father and the Son, the Creator and the sacrificial Son who goes there to right the wrongs. I watched this movie with the eye of a film lover, amazed at a lot of its brilliance. And yet I can't help but watch it with the attitude of, this is all bullshit. This is a complete bullshit story. It's far too simplistic. Lang, near the end of his life, in interviews with Peter Bogdanovich, would say that the film suffers from that. He would talk about his own naivete as a young filmmaker, and how it played out with this narrative that was far too. He said the main thesis was Mrs. von Harbou's, Thea von Harbou, his wife at the time, and his screenwriter, his co-screenwriter. The main thesis was Mrs. von Harbou's, but I am at least 50% responsible because I did it. I was not so politically minded in those days as I am now. You cannot make a social conscious picture in which you say that the intermediary between the hand and the brain is the heart. I mean, that's a fairy tale, definitely. But I was very interested in machines. Anyway, I didn't like the picture, thought it was silly and stupid. Then when I saw the astronauts, what else are they but part of a machine? It's very hard to talk about pictures. Should I say now that I like Metropolis because something I've seen in my imagination comes true when I detested it after it was finished? He didn't feel that way during the making. He didn't feel that way during the release. And when it was subsequently cut to pieces, taken from close to 2 hours, 45 minutes and shrunk down to about an hour and a half, maybe a little bit longer, he felt that his masterpiece had been destroyed. Later on, he would come to this conclusion, his discussion with Bogdanovich. A lot of it was in retrospect, a lot of it was looking back, the results of the Nazi Party and their embracing of this film. But that doesn't change the fact that it's a naive and simplistic. I find it difficult to believe that Lang, in his mid to late 20s during the making of this film, would have believed the shit that he was putting on screen. It's a problematic film in that respect. It is true. The bridge between the heart, between the mind and the hand, is the heart. I don't know how naive you would have to believe. I don't know how naive you would have to be in order to believe that bullshit. So here we are, going to spend the next hour or so discussing a masterpiece of cinema, and one that is woefully problematic. That being said, let's go to the question that I always ask, Mr. Chavez. What is your relationship to this film? We'll get into mine, and importantly, what is it about the history of this film, the status of it, the how it is regarded as a classic and a masterpiece? How does that affect your personal viewing of this film?
My history or my relationship with the film is that I'm one of those who live underground in this film. So this is one of those films that has like different versions.
Mm-hmm.
As you said, it was cut up. There's a re-release version that has it's the Marauder version that has this like synth pop 80s soundtrack added to it. And it's very bizarre to watch that version. I've seen that version.
I have never seen that version. I've never seen it.
Yeah, you would hate it.
Yeah.
There are title cards on that version, and I was kind of like checking that version out because it had been years since I'd seen it,
mm-hmm.
and the opener in that gives you a sense of what the film is about and what the world is about. So it says the year is 2026, a Dickensian best of times and worst of times, where total oppression and manipulation of the masses is wielded by the unquestionable power of the few. Now, does that sound familiar to anyone out there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It continues far below the city of Metropolis, is the underground city where machines are operated by the workers who live even further below. So you have a two-tiered society in the film. The haves at the top and the have-nots below. They live underground. Imagine an above ground area, which is this technocratic, cosmopolitan city with all of the latest bells and whistles, right? Um, Underground is basically a city that is a factory. And below the factory, and another level below that, are the dwelling places of the workers who work in the factory. So it's not even it's a two-tiered society, but with three floors basically. And the middle floor is the factory floor. So that really separates the people who live above ground, who get to fucking see the sun and all that shit, from the people below. And the idea is that the master of Metropolis has a son who, I mean, there's a lot of convoluted love story stuff in the film. But to keep it simple, he goes down below to experience life, the life of a worker. So he switches places with someone. And amid all of this, where the dad is like, "Where's my son?" Blah blah blah. The dad is working with a scientist, basically a mad scientist who creates an android. Well, he creates a robot that he puts skin on or whatever, so she becomes an android, and sends the android down to deceive the working class, and that deception creates rebellion. There's a counter message to that, which is that there is this messianic figure that should come, that's going to help out the downtrodden below. You end up getting two messages. One message is from the android, which is you should revolt. The other message is wait for the Messiah, basically. Everything fucks up, everything's bad in the film, and finally the android is seen for what she actually is, and the Messiah figure does link the upper echelon to the working class and reconciles those two sides. So this Hell character figure, who is also Maria, but doesn't matter. Hell is also a word for underworld. This female figure who presides over the underworld and the underworld in mythology. She tells people not to revolt, but the android tells people to revolt. She incites revolution. So the critique is this: the good rich white person needs to intervene on behalf of the oppressed workers. That's the primary message. They should not revolt on their own, and even the idea of revolution, having come from a false messenger, basically an AI. She's a deep fake. She's in our 2026 terms versus the 2026 terms of that character. We would see her as a deep fake. It's a deception, and we are unable to see the difference. because our eyes tell us and our ears tell us, well, this is what we see. And she's ultimately a tool of the elites to trick us. And as we record this episode, there's this idea that AI itself will further create a two-tiered society. So I kind of veered off into kind of the premise based on the Marauder film caption in the beginning or whatever. But before we continue on that track, I watched this movie, and I do, from a film perspective, in terms of the shots, in terms of the set, in terms of all of the technical aspects, it is a masterpiece. You should be able to differentiate between those things. At the same time, I think the premise is, or not the premise, but the actual message of the film. I won't even say that it's naive. I think it is naive, but beyond naive, I think it's actually. I think it's just from someone who's in that perspective, and to a degree, it's a form of mental colonization, and so it's only natural, I think, that that you would have films like this or stories like this coming out of any industry, because we still do. We still have. I said it earlier. We still have these Iron Man films. These.
You mentioned Dune off mic, which I think is.
Well, I also mentioned it. Yeah, Dune is one of the white savior. Dune is.
But think about it. That is a prince. That is the son of a king almost. Completely. It's the same as this. It's the son of a captain of industry who realizes the beauty of life and his brotherhood and rises up in order to lead the people.
100%. The difference, though, and I think this is why this is more insidious, is because that's also wrapped in it's wrapped in race and in the veneer of religion. This kind of has this has that too, because it uses religious themes, as you described. It has references to the Tower of Babel, which is a symbol of human ego trying to reach the heavens. It has Moloch, who is this pagan, false deity. It has
the seven deadly sins.
It has the seven deadly sins. It uses symbols of. It has pentagrams and pentacles and stuff like that. So it uses symbols of Christianity, of occultism, and of paganism to frame the machine. He sees the savior figure in this hallucination sees the machine as a demonic kind of entity. But the film sees that. It frames the machine as demonic, but it has the Messiah figure coming from within the system and the societal structure of the very same machine. So it's like, well, the person who's creating the film is also coming from within the societal structure of the machine. I see this very much. Yes, it is like Dune. It tracks. It has all these parallels, but the same kind of thing as fucking Iron Man. Our hero is going to be, he's a little rough around the edges. He's like, he's egocentric, but fuck, like he delivers. He proves it. Not only is he has to be rich because he did something right? He's smart. He's smarter than all of us. Can't you hear Joe Rogan sitting around jerking off to fucking the main character of this film? Like, this guy's oh shit, like super Elon Musk level, fucking goes down, like lives with the people, man, like fuck, like fights the machine, but like then brings us all together. Like that's what we should all be doing, like having these conversations, it's nonsense.
Yeah. Okay.
But at the same time, it's when we all live in the machinery of fucking what's the aspiration? The aspiration, what's going to help you get better? What's going to improve your life? What's going to um is it to be self-actualized and to have like um a purpose and a sense of like, okay, I have enough to eat, I have shelter, I have like I can I have some enough freedom of movement that if I want to I can travel and I have healthcare and all that stuff? Or is it I want to be fucking rich? It's I want to be fucking rich.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying there's anything inherently wrong with being rich, but this already goes beyond being
No, there is
rich. These
something
people are
inherently
fucking
wrong with being rich. There is absolutely something, the way it's defined today as a
well.
means
That's
of,
what I'm saying.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Is it's not like, oh, having your needs met and to be able to do the things that you would like to do because you have enough money to do that. Once you get past a certain amount of wealth or a certain income, I'll say, um,
Yeah.
getting to that point, it does improve your life. Getting beyond that point, and I don't know if that point has changed now because of inflation, or as both of you guys can look it up, whatever that fucking number is. But the point is that, of course, fucking Iron Man is going to be aspirational in our society because that person seems to have all the markers that our society says are the top of the fucking line: wealth, intelligence, talent, fucking superhero. He has the technology, he has the gadgets, all of it. So it's like we watch these fucking hero movies, and you don't you don't need the. It doesn't have to be that he's the son of a king or whatever, or a duke or whatever. He doesn't have to be uh, prophesied in some religion. He doesn't have to be fucking. Is Jon Snow the Azor Ahai? Is he the Lord of Light? Is he this? He doesn't have to be any of that. All he has to be is rich with good intentions, and he'll use the androids to save us. He'll use the AIs to save us. He'll use the whatever the tech is to save us because we need it, because we can't do it ourselves. Because how like if we could do it ourselves, we wouldn't be poor. So it's like this caste system, not even class. It's like it's caste at that point. And the film creates that narrative, and it's interesting to see, especially nowadays, now that we have all of this conspiracy shit um, with the files, as they would call them, the PDF files, the pedophiles. I'm thinking about Alex Jones because I'm thinking about Moloch. Moloch is the demon, the that deity that the machine transforms into in the vision that the workers are fed to. They march into it and they're fed sacrificially to this demon. In the late 90s, early 2000s, this conspiracy theorist named Alex Jones, who came out of Texas, and he used to have he had like one of those access fucking TV shows, and then he went online and he started InfoWars, and he became one of the leading voices of like post 9/11, the 9/11 truth movement, and all that stuff. But he was really fired up because of Waco and Oklahoma City and all that stuff in the 90s. At some point, supposedly, he infiltrated Bohemian Grove, which was an elite meeting place in Northern California, right? And they would have this thing called the cremation of care ceremony, and they would have this statue. It wasn't a bull; it was an owl. But he compared it to Moloch, and and they would have these effigies that they would burn. But the suggestion was like, are they actually humans, right?
Yeah.
And he would talk about the elites, or he would talk about the globalists, and he would talk about the Carlyle Group, and yet other conspiracy people talking about all this shit. It goes into 9/11, right? You know, it all ties in, and it's all. And the Trilateral Commission, and the Illuminati, and Freemasonry, and that it's then there's a cabal of wealthy elites that are going to sacrifice us all, and they actually are devil worshippers at the highest levels, and now all these files are being released, and so there are certain elements in the files that seem to confirm on some level, or they suggest that a lot of these conspiracies had like some kind of kernel of truth to them, in terms of like, okay, the abuses, that's the obvious part, but then when you start to hear shit about like sacrifices and cannibalism and babies being killed and all that shit, it makes me think of this movie with Moloch and all that, and the sacrifices to Moloch, and the metaphor. I mean, the metaphor in the film is that workers are fed to the machine, and the machine is an object of worship. And I mean, that tracks just from a fucking like straight up like not theistic, just a straight up Marxist perspective. It tracks with the satanic panic hysteria. You know, what years ago when we started, remember 10, 11 years ago, whatever, when we did the church scandal film, Spotlight,
And yeah,
and we did fucking LIE, and we talked a little about the Franklin scandal. Go back if you want to hear that crazy shit. Go back to the archives.
Go to Libsyn.com. Watch this.
Go to Libsyn. Yeah, watch this with RickRamos. Go to the archives and fucking if you're interested in that, fucking that's episode 85. And currently, Epstein sacrifices sex slaves. You get the satanic panic. You get the Franklin scandal. There's also a level, and I'm getting into the weeds now, but I'm doing it for a reason. There's a level that I'm seeing a lot of this stuff come out. There's a level of anti-Jewish conspiracy theory that goes back to the blood libel. It goes back like thousands of years. It goes back to St. Paul. This idea of Jews drinking blood, Jews killed Jesus, all the way to modern Jews rule the financial world, into Mossad, globalists, George Soros, blah blah blah, right? And these kind of ideas of Jews are evil versus, it can go both ways, where it's like, well, we are superior, non-Jews are inferior. Just these labels and these ideas. We're at a place where we're dealing with not only AI. I mean, we're dealing with psyop. We're dealing with fucking the Android version that's telling you like, be angry about this, as in this film. With all these records and all this stuff that's going on, we have to be very careful to sift through and to question what is true and what is, maybe the kernel is true, but the way it's being framed is, this part is anti-Semitic. This part, you know, there's a difference between anti-Semitism and criticism of, for example, the policies of the Israeli government. Those are two different things. Some people will tell you that they're the same. And then some people, without being told that they're the same, will come to the conclusion that they're the same, erroneously. The fact is, elites do benefit from a system that feeds labor to the machinery of our capitalist system. That forget all the blood, forget all the guts, forget the babies, forget the sex. I mean, don't forget it, but like put it to the side.
Well, don't forget it, but be able to be willing to look at it in the context of the bigger picture and the problem,
Yes,
and how it's
yes.
being. All of those things are being used to further a narrative, further lies, that kind of thing.
But even without the narrative aspect of it,
Mm-hmm.
the fact is that like we are being fed to the machine because the machine is the system that we exist in. And it's like Mark Fisher said, like we can sooner envision the end of the world than we can the end of capitalism. And that's true because it's the only fucking game in town. Even as it reveals all of its contradictions. And even in the late stage that it's in, as on certain levels it collapses, and as our empire collapses, 250 fucking years is the lifespan on average. It's kind of like it's it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the danger of the film is that we're looking still 100 years after the making of the film. We're still in the same place where we're looking for Chuck Schumer to fucking save us, or we're looking for, or on the opposite side, the people who view Donald Trump as their messianic figure, and it's like, he's really not your fucking figure.
Well, let's be
You're
honest.
being fed to the machine.
Yeah, I mean, a billionaire or an imagined billionaire, definitely a billionaire now after years of grift and
yeah, for sure,
and money grubbing, taking advantage of a system and being emboldened by a movement that views you as as it was described to me a little bit earlier, as a tool of a god, which I agree with absolutely. That figure as salvation, while on the other hand, who is our salvation? Well, we're going to find out in November of this year when the Democrats finally come back and regain power. No, that's we are sitting here waiting for our Gregor. We're sitting here waiting for
that's what I'm saying. If we get elections,
we get elections, but
but yeah, that's the idea. That's the idea, is that like we're going to get someone, as you said earlier, who's going to like I think this is off mic when you referred to Chuck Schumer's strongly worded letter. It's still the solutions are still coming from inside the thinking of the machine.
Yeah.
And it's like the solutions have to come outside of the machine. Something has to change, at least change about the machine.
Yeah.
And films like this really illustrate the mindset where it's kind of like even the idea of being able to reach across the aisle and work with some kind of like domestic diplomacy. At this point, that is very, very, very unlikely and very fractured and very it's fucked. Like it's beyond at this point.
Yeah.
Because it's more like, well, this guy has the championship belt right now, but I'm waiting for Hulk Hogan to come back, and I'm waiting. Whatever character isn't really dead. The Undertaker was part of a secret plot that the Undertaker was actually going to just keep him in hiding until he resuscitates him, and he didn't really die because it was all part of a dream, and who killed JR, and it's the soap opera pro professional wrestling shit where everyone gets to play out their aesthetic. Well, fucking the Vince McMahon figure is just fucking rolling in the dough behind the scenes, and then even he is playing the part, and there's a metaphor for that too, because it's there's a metaphor for the Hollywood system in this film too, because it's you can look at wrestling, you can look at all these industries where it's like, well, it's always like that. Anytime you have stratified society, you're always going to have the people at the bottom. It's a pyramid, and you're going to have the people at the bottom holding up the people at the top. And Hollywood itself is fed. That's another one when we got into the fucking Weinstein and the scandal and all that. The history of Hollywood is a history of people being brought in as these, like, not necessarily, they weren't their saviors in terms of like their livelihood, but they were the saviors of their narratives. And these people were sacrificed metaphorically to the machine.
That's definitely the way it seems to play out. I, you know, there's something that you mentioned earlier. You said that you're in the underground. You're one of the workers in this film. Um, I view myself the same way. I was thinking about this last night as I was. I watched this film about a week ago, and it sat with me for a long time. And I was thinking about it. I was because before this, I had just watched it from a film history perspective. Watching it for this episode, I was in a mindset after the movies that we've watched up until this point, The Manchurian Candidate, both versions of The Manchurian Candidate, as well as some of the other films that have been in this series that we've dedicated to, you know, Ron. The breakdown of society, this cultural,
Even Tetsuo,
to a degree as well, yeah.
you become a machine.
Yeah, but I think I always looked at myself egotistically. I will say egotistically, as an intellectual that probably overthought a great many things. I look at this movie and I don't think there's no way that I would have been a worker in this world doing the job for 8 hours and then going to a meeting and listening to somebody say, a mediator will come, a Messiah will come to save us from this. You and I talked for a while before this episode, as we usually do, as we lube the machine to get the conversation to the place that we want it to be. It doesn't just happen, people. There's a lot of work that goes into this. But there was a recognition there that what we do in our daily lives, you're a little bit more hopeful than I am. And I feel like it's a hopeless situation. And I feel powerless. And you were saying, you said that that's what they want. Well,
That's exactly what they
that
fucking
is exactly
want.
what they want, but it's not in the way that I feel that you're describing it to me, because it's not a matter of you can't beat them. It's the fact that you can't beat the system, but it's also, if I had a workforce or a population that even recognized how quantifiably we are being fucked on a daily basis, then it would be different. If I saw people and they understood in conversation, listening to people, and at this point, I don't really talk to people as much as I once did, because I feel like I don't have a lot to say to anybody. Um, and the people that I do have these conversations with, I feel that they get it, but it's also, how many times are we going to have this fucking conversation? How many times are we going to go back to this well and talk about the hopelessness of it? So at 51, I find myself addicted to. I watch some asshole in a podcast talk about Donald Trump at least once a day, whether it's James Carville, Michael Fisher, that woman he does the Scott Galloway. I listen to all this shit, and there's a part of me that's just like, I got to stop this. I got to stop this. It's like, what? There is no point in beating the shit out of yourself. After a certain point, bitching doesn't help. Trying to figure out what the next step to do is going to be the only way you save it. And I don't know that we're capable of it. The thing, I'm not scared anymore. I'm just sad. I'm just sad and resigned and hopeless and tired, because I know that things only get worse. They don't get better. But the little glimmer of hope that I do have is that I know that in the 1920s, in the 1930s, it was a real shit show out here. And unions rose up. There were people like Eugene Debs. There were people that came out of the masses to lead. The problem is, we shouldn't be dependent on a leader. But I watched this film. Part of the problem that I have is that everything is predicated on the existence of a mediator, as someone who will rise up and show us the way. We know the fucking way. We know what we got to do. Why aren't
there
we
will be
doing
leaders? There will be leaders, but what we don't need are messiahs. And
the problem is that we elevate leaders to messiahs. Martin Luther King, Kennedy, the Kennedys, Malcolm X,
sure,
Medgar Evers. We elevate these people to sainthood, when the truth
a
is
lot
that
of that,
we should be looking at them as men and women. And we're
of
not even
course,
mentioning the women that have played a part in
of
this.
course, because that's another layer. You know what I mean? Like, of course it is. Now, a lot of the elevation of these people, it comes in the telling after. There's a difference, I think, between, oh, this person was this, and then the story gets bigger, right?
Yeah.
And then when we look back at their place in history, we see, well, yeah, this person was one of the most significant, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
Versus, listen, everybody, I want you to be on the lookout for a leader. I've heard that there's a leader coming. I've had a vision. Tell me if my vision makes sense. There will be a leader. He's going to. The podcast world is in a shambles. It's oversaturated. It's full of AI. It's full of just people who only they watch the same films. They don't really know films, but I've heard of someone who knows films. There is a guy out there who knows films. Listen, his name is RickRamos. He knows films. He's coming. He's going to take podcasting to the next level. Blah, 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 blah. And here I set you up in this fake little scenario that I'm creating. I'm setting you up as you're going to be this fucking, you're the guy. You know films better than anyone else and blah, blah, blah. And there's a creation of a mythology and a story that's happening all versus someone down the line says like, oh yeah, like of the 5 podcasts that I heard that I consistently listened to in 2026, that Rick Ramos one was actually one of the coolest ones because of this, this, and this, and therefore I think it's prominent among blah blah in terms of my personal experience. That those two are very, very different. One is in the telling of it after, and one is in the fucking preparing the masses, seeding them, basically seeding those people in order to receive someone who's going to Q. Q is like, oh, I know all the fucking secrets of and Trump's actually he's working behind the scenes to take down this ring, and the reality is he is the fucking ring, and it's a psyop. That's the difference in terms of that. The point is that the resistance movement against the Empire in Star Wars was the way we see the artifacts of that fictitious universe is through, for the longest time, was primarily through the stories of Jedi. But the resistance is bigger than the fucking Jedi. We see the Jedi as these heroes. But with stuff like Andor, you see that it's larger than that. I mean, you see that throughout the stories too, because it's kind of like, well, there's a whole fucking rebellion happening. It's more than just the drama between the Sith and the Jedi played out in terms of like political. So yeah, there's gonna be some fucking there may be a Luke and a Leia somewhere in there. But it's like on the ground, we may just be fucking Ewoks in this whole thing, speaking Tagalog, you know? Whatever it is like all of us who are watching these films, all of those of you who are listening to this episode, wherever the fuck you are in the world, chances are that you're living underground. You're part of the underground fucking class. If you live in Metropolis, like you're already, and the reality is that those of us who are listening to this podcast, we may be on the underground level, but like in the curve, in the graded curve of like wealth inequality of the world, we are a version of this, of living already in Metropolis, because the equipment that we're using to listen to the podcast or record it or whatever, it's fucking basically the minerals and stuff used to create the microchips were created by slaves from today. And shit is only going to get worse. We're just fucking interpreting and riffing on fucking films, putting it into context so shit can kind of make sense to ourselves, and hopefully it does to you too. And I mean, I get it, to listen to the podcasts every day and be like, fuck, I'm not gonna, I mean, and I don't encourage people to turn ours off, you know what I mean? Like, I want to keep hearing about it, because at some point you can say, well, is everyone going to get numb to it? We have to resist that.
Yeah.
And I would rather watch Metropolis and have all these questions and like what I see and despise the fucking message of the film than watch some fucking slop that is just fucking fed to me by a different version of the machine that has nothing that I agree with, and at the same time, it doesn't even have anything I really disagree with either. It's just I just disagree with the fact that it's all a money grab.
Well, I think
It's
there's an
being churned out.
yeah, I think there's an aspect that's I think the intention of this film is noble in the same way that I think both Frankenheimer and Demi were noble in their storytelling of, at least I hope. I mean, you never know, but I hope that the intention behind both Manchurian Candidate films were to shine a light and make people aware of something. And I think there's an aspect of that to Fritz Lang's film.
Yeah.
But you and I are looking at it from a different perspective. You and I are, I don't mean to jump on a class high horse, or to say that we are somehow better. But you and I are both working class. You and I have done those shit jobs that break our backs, that grind down our souls. These other storytellers haven't necessarily been there. They're imagining what that experience is. To equate man to a machine like Lang is doing in this film, I think is spot on. The ridiculousness of moving the hands of that clock in order to hit the light, to hit the bulbs. It's never said what that is, what the point of that is. But that's very true to life. How many of us work jobs where we have no idea what the fuck it is we're doing in the bigger picture of what it is making the machine
That's just industrialization.
work? Yeah,
that's exactly the whole point. It's just like you're a piece of a machine.
Yeah, we're gonna get
alienated from. This is Marx's critique. Like
we're gonna get into greater detail on another episode of that, but on another episode. But the difficulty is, I think you and I, we don't come from this privileged background where we can watch a movie like this and say, that is the working man's struggle. We know the working man's struggle. We're the working man. And, in today's world, we're the working people, men, women, the bullshit.
The thing is that the income inequality is to such a fucking degree now.
Yeah.
That even Metropolis, even the above ground world of Metropolis would be just another level of the underground to the wealthiest people in the world.
Yeah.
Because it's the fucking 1%, and then it's the 99 way the fuck at the bottom. And the 99 include people that before we would just think of as rich. Like the mega fucking wealthy billionaire class. The people who really run the world, the people who own the fucking 5 companies, the people who fucking own the fucking the food companies and the media companies, which in turn own the studios, which in turn own the channels and the streaming services and the social media platforms, and all those people that were behind the president at the inauguration that are the fucking wealthiest people in the world. Like the fucking richest surgeon, doctor, or whatever is still fucking ludicrously poor compared to that person. The richest athlete, the people that we think like, oh yeah, like the richest people are still poor compared to the wealthiest fucking people.
Yeah.
And so it's like we're all part of the fucking machine. We're all fucking part of the machine. And the fucking, did you ever see that movie? It's the one with Jeremy Irons, Demi Moore, where it's about that crash. Is it called The Short? Something like that?
No.
Is that it?
Margin Call, I think it's called.
Margin Call, that's it, yeah. Jeremy Irons' character is like a Gordon Gekko type from Wall Street.
Yeah.
Most people are rich. That guy isn't shit compared to the richest people in the world.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we are even less, but then it's like there are all these tiers to it because, again, our phones are created by fucking the pieces that go into the chips are literally mined by fucking slaves.
Yeah.
The clothes that we wear, everything. So even the idea of like, well, what's the working man? Like, it's way more complicated than that. But going back to Star Wars to make this even more convoluted, it's like, well, what's the first episode that came out, which is episode 4? What's the fucking subtitle? It's A New Hope.
Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily have to mean a fucking great white hope or a fucking great rich hope or a great whatever hope. It just means to say, in the sense that, and I'm not a fucking big promoter of Obama because I think he's also like part of the corporate political machine of this country. But his whole campaign was about the audacity of hope. And if we can hold on to that as a form of resistance, then we have a chance. Even if it's a fucking snowball's chance in hell, or a snowflake's chance in hell, we still have a chance. Otherwise, might as well just worship the machine because that's the only other option.
Well, that's the thing. All you have is the fight. And regardless of how unlikely you are to win, regardless of how powerful the machine is that you're working against, you either keep fighting or you give up completely. For some people, they're not even aware that they're in the fight.
Well, that's the Matrix part.
Yeah. But then
you don't even see the machine.
No, the fact of the matter is that I'm aware. And I don't know. The fight is still there. There is a hopelessness, but there is the embers of anger and hostility and a search for justice that still motivates. I mean, we do this fucking show every week, regardless of what, yeah, life gets in the way from time to time, but we make it up. We figure out a way to do it because we have something that needs to be said. Whether it needs to be said or not, we need to say it. So we do it.
And we need to hear ourselves saying it too.
Yeah.
We're the hands, but we have a fucking brain. Like, we don't need, like, they don't have the brains and we don't. Like, it's not like they have them and we don't. We have a heart. We have a brain. We have hands.
Yeah.
So we can create our own Metropolis.
Okay.
This
we can do that if they're if those listening are willing to help us out a little bit here and there.
And themselves.
Mr. Chavez, go ahead.
This episode's for Stephen Palmer. Thanks for helping us keep the lights on the, especially on that archive.
At this point, it's all about the archive, really. I mean, I love the fact that we're doing new stuff, but there's something about maintaining that archive where people are going to be able to go back and see what it is that we have done. And I got to be honest, and I think you would agree with me, I am incredibly proud of the last, what has it been, 14 years?
Almost
14
just
years.
With me, it's been 10. With me, it'll be 11 at whatever point. But
I think we're closer to 12 with you. Before. I don't think you remember it correctly.
2015.
I think we go back a little bit longer than that. I don't know. I'd have to look it up.
Sure, we'll just round up. But the point is, yeah, thanks, Stephen Palmer, for helping us out. buymeacoffee.com/watchRickRamos. It's buymeacoffee.com/watchRickRamos. If you like what we do, consider donating. Keep listening. Keep fighting. Keep digging. Till next time.